Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spoonful podcast. I am Mario Piacquadio. Joining me, as always, Mr. Emmett Watkins Jr. How the hell are you, man?
I am doing pretty excellent. Thanks again for I keep having that urge to say thanks for having me on, but this is our thing. Like
It's yeah, you're
I ain't a
you're kind
visitor.
of
I
a
live
part
here.
of it. I don't know if you figured it out. It's kind of like you and me. Like that's the whole point
Yeah,
of the whole thing.
yeah. My name's on the tin. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
How you been, man?
I've been pretty good, just working a lot, trying to reset the life a lot, trying to catch up on a lot of entertainment and games, but I'm taking it all in stride and I'm having a good time while doing it.
There
So
you go.
yeah, excited for another exciting topic. And of course, I have another game, but we'll do that after the rigmarole.
Well, the rigmarole is, in case you didn't know, this is the Spoonful podcast. This is a show where Emmett and I get to sit down and talk just about anything we want. We grab a nice little spoonful of topics hand fed directly to you. It goes live every other Tuesday on youtube.com. Still don't have a link, guys. I'm going to keep saying this
Subscribe
until
so we
we
can
can
keep
have a
that
link.
custom link.
Please subscribe. For the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Spoonful Vids. That way you'll have the link to the YouTube channel there. You can subscribe. And also on all available podcast platforms. If you don't see the show in your podcast platform, that's kind of a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of peas.
In your favorite pit of choice, please let us know.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
as it has become a tradition, we have our game show with no name. It took us a while to figure out the name Spoonful, so we're just rolling with the
Yeah.
punches.
We're inhaling the vibes right now. So
Yeah.
until the vibes have sustained and settled into a proper name, I'm gonna make you guess a thing that I bought.
Ah,
So
all right. Here we go.
so giving you 3 hints. I think this one should be I'm not saying the hint is easy, but the item should be pretty easy to guess. So
Okay.
the first thing I'll say is this. Here's your first hint.
Okay.
The main character of this is from Africa.
The main
That's
character is from Africa. Okay.
yes.
Let me think. Main characters from Africa. What's in the
Hmm.
what's hot recently? I know you like steel books a lot. Mm.
But you gotta think about the steel books that I come up here with. Are they from recent movies?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I mean, first thought I had, just because it's hot. I've seen the trailers. It's hot in the news. I'm gonna say Black Panther. Just obviously the first one.
Ah, okay, that's your first guess. I do own that steel book, but I bought that a long time ago.
I
You're
figured. Here's my thought process. I'm like, Emmett definitely owns Black Panther, but maybe they're doing. You know how they do new steel books all the time, new random steel
yeah,
books all the time. Maybe I'm like they did a new cover and it's hot, and Emmett wants it. But fair.
yeah, yeah, if only. Yeah, that was a good one, and actually that worked well because I used that as a 3rd hint specifically because I knew it would bait you.
Nice.
So
Okay. Okay.
so let's go to the next one. The next hint is this has both been turned into a Nintendo 3DS game and a musical. Those are your that's your second hint.
Okay. So African main character that has turned into both a musical and a Nintendo 3DS game.
You're gonna kick yourself when you realize
I
this.
feel like I am. I feel like this one's an easy one.
Oh, yeah, very
um,
excited.
Geez. Okay. Nintendo. I'm like, what Nintendo 3DS games star an African person? I'm like, fuck.
I said they're from Africa.
From Africa. You're right. You're right. From Africa.
Mhm.
I'm like, what
Very
kind of
excited about
Mario
this.
spin-off is this? Okay.
1,000 Year Door 2.
Oh man. Okay. Okay. Is this musical
Mhm.
like active at the moment, like going on, or was
Uh,
it was a thing, not a
it
thing
might
anymore?
be. If it's not a thing anymore, then it recently wasn't a thing. I know, like well, it's a musical, so COVID might have affected this, but
Right.
I feel like it was running as early as or as recently as, like, 2020, maybe 2021.
Okay.
It's been on Broadway and all that recently, so
Recently.
it could still be going.
Okay. Because I thought, here's my thought process, and I'm gonna use my
Mhm.
good old strategy of shooting out a guess that I don't think is it, but will get me the next hint, which is critical.
Fair.
My thought process was maybe Emmett's trying to fuck with me. This guy's clever. This guy knows what he's doing. He's trying to mess with me. He's trying to throw me off my game. It
as
makes me
always.
think a little bit outside the box, right? When you say this
Mhm.
person's from Africa or this main character's from Africa, I jump to human being, but maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is not a human being. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay, what things out there star non-human beings from Africa
Okay.
that also
Alright.
happen to have a musical and apparently a 3DS game? Now, the musical part, I'm sure of this one. 3DS game, I mean, I don't know, I guess. I'm gonna
Alright.
go with the obvious, probably not correct choice of the Lion King. Anything the Lion King related, but knowing that's probably not correct, but just putting it out there.
You know, that's a solid guess because I bet you there is a Lion King 3DS game.
It has to be right. That's my
Yeah.
thought process.
But no, it's not the
Okay,
Lion King.
fuck.
Alright. I will say that does tie in a little bit to your last hint.
Hmm.
Your last hint is this. So I see you have a cat. Do you have any dogs? I feel like you've told me this.
I have dogs. Dog is not currently in the room at the moment. Tiny
Fair.
Yorkie.
Okay. Have you trained that Yorkie at all to do, like, any tricks?
A few, nothing crazy, nothing nuts, but a
Okay.
little bit.
If you were to throw a stick, would they bring it back to you?
In her glory days, yes, but she's a little older, so she might just give you a look like,
Mm.
"All right, man."
So I guess you could say right now, if you were to throw a stick, they wouldn't make that happen.
Fucking wherever this is going, man. Okay,
I'm avoiding a word because I feel like if I say the word, you're
I'm
gonna know
sure
what it is.
I can sense that we're at the doorstep of it, and I can sense the viewers and listeners at home screaming at their monitors. But what you don't understand is when you're in the hot seat, you forget everything. My mind is blank. All I've done this entire time is stare at SpongeBob right there, right next to you. And I'm staring at his eyes, and he's
Yeah.
not giving me the answer. That's the problem I'm facing.
Think about what that action is. If you were to pick up a stick, throw it, and then a dog would bring it back, what is that action called?
Fetch, right?
So your
You
dog
play
can't make that
fetch.
happen anymore? It's right there.
It is. It is. I know it's right there. Blank. Totally
That's
blank.
like one of the most famous quotes from this thing. I
I give
I
up.
feel like this is it.
I'm sure it's
Ah,
easy, but I give up. I give up. I can't.
alright,
My
I'm just
brain
gonna
is
say the
blank.
quote. I'm just gonna say the quote outright, and if it doesn't trigger anything, then I'm just gonna be sad at you. Um, your dog can't make fetch happen.
See, I recognize the quote. Blank. You want
Oh,
me to tell
no.
you want me to tell you what my brain did there?
Yeah,
My
what's your
brain
brain doing?
my brain took me, and I know it's a completely different quote. Has nothing to do with it. This is not the thing. But the movie Field of Dreams, the quote, "You want to have a catch, Dad?" That's the only thing that my brain said. Maybe, man, I don't know. Go with that, I guess.
Oh, man. Yeah, people who are listening to this episode are gonna just
Oh,
throw you in the dirt with
they're
this one.
pissed at me. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's fair. It's okay.
Yeah, well, you did a decent job. You actually followed a lot of lines of logic, but it did not lead you to the right place, which is the steel book for the movie Mean Girls. The
Yeah,
burn book.
yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
so you
because
did definitely want to throw
yeah.
me off a loop saying because obviously Lindsay Lohan is from Africa. That was a
Yeah, the
great way
character.
to throw me off a loop. Well, yeah, the character, not the person.
Yeah,
That was
yep,
good. That was
and
a good
yeah.
trick first hit. I
I thought
respect
the
that.
musical would have done it, I'm not gonna lie. I
I
thought the musical would
forgot
have
that
done
they
it.
had a musical. By the there's a 3DS Mean Girls game.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know because it was lost to time, but recently, I think, Raven Simone on YouTube
Oh,
or
I
Raymona.
remember
Yeah,
that. You're right. I remember
yeah, she
that.
has
I
it up.
watched that whole video. Fuck.
And remembered none of it.
I for totally dude, the hot scene, man, it gets you.
Yeah, it does, but yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yep, that's what it was. I got myself a steelbook of Mean Girls, one of the best, teen comedies of all time, one of my favorite movies of all
That's a
time.
great movie. It's a great steelbook. I'm happy for you.
Yes, indeed,
I'm happy
but
for
yeah,
you. Well,
from what yeah,
maybe part of the reason why I couldn't get Mean Girls, even though I love Mean Girls, it's a great movie. I was a little distracted the whole time because right next
hmm,
to me
Ah, we got the deck in the house. Where's mine? Where's mine? I'm gonna snatch it.
We're
Wait.
decking it up.
The
Check it
deck
out, y'all.
duo.
We're decking it up, y'all.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. So what have you been doing with it so far? You've been tweaking, you've been playing.
I've been Steam decking. So I went through what I think every single Steam Deck owner, or I would say a majority of Steam Deck owners go through, which is you receive your Steam Deck, you hold it. Initially, you're like, man, this feels so much better to hold than I would ever thought it did, right? That's like, it's like one of the first rites of passage. And then I did the thing that everybody does where I didn't play a single game on it for like 3 days because all I was doing was tinkering with it.
Yep.
I did.
feel
I
that.
downloaded Elden Ring into it, and I booted up Elden Ring for 5 minutes, and I was like, "Oh, pretty cool. All right, wow, Elden Ring runs." I'm like, Elden Ring does look a little tiny, especially because I play it in my big old screen. So I'm like, okay, I get it. I wasn't. It's not like I'm planning on using my Steam Deck for huge AAA games anyway, but I just wanted to get the experience, you know. So
Fair.
I did that. I used a little bit of what you told me about, and I used the internet and stuff to set up the Xbox cloud gaming thing
Mhm.
on the Steam Deck. By the way, Valve and Microsoft, like, chat it out, figure out a way to put just like the regular Xbox Game Pass app on the Steam Deck instead of this
Oh
cloud. Like,
god.
I get it that you're pushing cloud gaming and all, but like, just let me install Xbox Game Pass and let me install my Game Pass games onto the Steam Deck, please.
If only. Then they don't have to
Like,
make their own handheld. They can just let Valve take care of it.
yeah, right. Like, just dude, like it's a win-win. The Steam Deck will become like an Xbox handheld. You just said it. Like, it already has the same button layout. Just figure it out,
Just
guys.
shake hands, shake hands.
Just shake hands and figure it out. It's okay. I set up a few emulators on it. I have Metroid. So, okay, little backtrack. Last year, Metroid Dread came out. I wanted to play through all the Metroid, like the 2D Metroid games leading up to Dread. And I played Super Metroid on the Switch because I have the Nintendo Switch Online or whatever. That was cool. And then I immediately was like, aha, how do I play the other games? Because Nintendo doesn't let me play Zero Mission or anything else unless I have
It's
them.
all lost to time.
So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I know that I can set up emulators on my PC, and that's a thing, but I kind of never really did it. And now I had the Steam Deck in my hands. I'm like, this is a really good chance to may as well do it and play them on the go. Especially because we'll get to my biggest. I do really enjoy the Steam Deck. It's a awesome piece of technology. It's very clearly a first generation piece of technology in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. Yes, it's expensive, but I'm okay with, the early adopter sort of hurdles that you have to go through. The biggest one by far, and I understand why it's there, but like the offline mode situation is a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah. That is
It's
fair.
like I enjoy the Steam Decks because I can play games on the go, but like the fact that I have to prepare it so I can play games on the go is a little annoying. Granted,
Mhm.
I can just set up like my mobile hotspot on my phone and connect to the Steam Deck that way and kind of bypass it. I understand that. But like if I'm in a place that doesn't have really good signal, then the signal's slow and everything. And I get it. It has to connect to the Steam cloud because the whole point is that your saves, pass on and all that. But there has to be a better way to figure that part out. And again, that's why I go back to the Xbox Game Pass thing is like if there was just a Game Pass app on my phone, because if you look at my desktop wallpaper, a majority of the games that are installed in there on my desktop are from Xbox Game Pass. And I
Yep.
do use Steam also, but like a lot of games are on Game Pass. So the fact that for me to play those games on the go, I need to have a not just an online connection, but a good online connection because it's all through the cloud sucks a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the Steam Deck a lot. I'm glad I got it. Uh, the more that I've used it, I sometimes will just turn around and grab my Switch and hold it and look at it and be like, man, because I have the OLED version. I'm like, this is one of the prettiest screens ever. But the rest of you is such a piece of shit compared to the Steam Deck, man.
Uh, Yeah, I know how that feels. I've already gotten that way with my Switch because I still got the LCD screen on my Switch. So I look at it and I'm like, I'm not touching you till Bayonetta 3's out. Like,
Yeah,
there's
no,
no
totally.
reason. Yeah, and I will say for so you've gotten emulators running. There's one thing I was gonna ask. I forgot what I was gonna ask. Something to oh, have you looked into getting any of the like alternate PC stores running on Steam Deck at all?
Oh, yeah, yeah, like how you can get like GOG and the Epic Game Store and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've looked it up. I'm probably not gonna do it on because here's another dumb thing I bought that I'm not gonna make you guess. Be because so long story short, Titanfall 2 runs on Steam Deck. You can play it on there.
Nice.
But for whatever reason, when I downloaded on my Steam Deck on the SD card, it says that files are missing. And I've
Okay.
re-verified all the files. I'm not sure what's up. I looked it up, and what someone said to do was to change the language from English to German, let the language pack download, then switch it back to English, and then it runs. But then I have to do that every time I want to play Titanfall 2.
That's hilarious. And those are
So
the things that are like, yep, this is a first generation thing. Like they're still working out the kinks.
and there's some kinks that can be worked out. Like in my head, I was like, okay, so I'll just play it off the internal storage. My internal storage is 64 gigs. Titanfall
Oof.
2 is like
Yeah,
67.
no, don't work out. I'm glad
So
I got the 256 model because
mhm.
I still haven't gotten an SD card, but I'm fine for a little bit. You know, like I can be okay without an SD card for a little bit, and then I'll update it and we'll all be good. But yeah, most of what I've played on my Steam Deck has been Metroid Zero Mission, which is so funny to me. But it's part of the charm of the Steam Deck is that at the end of the day, even though it has its you know bad things, it is like it's a little PC, and you can get
Yeah,
real nitty gritty with it, and it's cool.
yeah. I was watching She-Hulk on it this week too. So
Of
it's like
course you
you can
were.
do anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fuck
I
yeah.
mean, at a certain point, I'm like, add Microsoft
You
Edge to
didn't
Steam
didn't
and
have a better
boom.
choice on that. You're like, fuck it, whatever.
I was in bed and it's like, do I want to hold the entire screen with my phone or do I want to hold the screen from the angles?
That's
The
why. That's why, Emmett, you need to be irresponsible with your money, just like I am oftentimes, and get yourself the best on the go viewing, like entertainment viewing product ever, the Samsung Galaxy Fold.
Oh, that. See, I'm not going that far. I respect the fold, and I don't even have concerns that it's gonna break on me at this point because they've worked out a lot of those kinks. But
It's
I
actually
like
sturdy, yeah.
X in the past, but yeah, I the phone I have now is the one with the stylus. I really like the stylus. That's
You
all I
can use a
want in
stylus
life.
here. The only issue is that like it doesn't have a place for the stylus to go in the phone, and that
Yeah,
kind of sucks.
exactly. Yeah, so I'm a steer clear for that. Maybe one day I'll come back. I feel like I'd get the Z Fold more than the actual big ass
Oh, the
fold.
flip one, yeah, that's cool. I
Yeah.
just personally, I love the big ass screen. It was a phone that I've wanted for forever, and then my cats, going with the theme of my cats breaking my expensive stuff, they broke my Pixel that I had, and I had to get a new phone. It was sort of an emergency, get a new phone, and then I'm at T-Mobile. They had a sale on this Z Fold 3 because the Z Fold 4 was about to come out. I was
Yeah.
like, fuck it, man. I've been wanting this phone for years. Let me pull the trigger. Legitimately, I it changed my life. I fucking love this phone so much. I could never go back to a non big ass screen phone.
I feel that. I feel that. Well, hey, I appreciate you recommending new ways for me to spend my money responsibly. But as
Yeah,
I was hinting towards earlier, I bought a second Steam Deck with more storage. So like, like I'm already using my money in bad ways. I'm
you
gonna
got you
I'm
got
gonna
me
sell
there.
the old one. I'm gonna sell the old one so no one like get at me. But yeah, I'm already making poor decisions. I'll make
That's what we
one
do.
less now.
That's what we stand
Exactly.
for here at Spoonful. I will say, Emmett, I think your microphone changed because at some point
Oh.
you went silent for a little bit, and then your sound started coming off a little harsher. So while you figure that out,
Hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell the people what our main topic is today. This is something that is right up my alley. So long time ago, I think before we even started as Spoonful, right? I hit up
Mhm.
Emmett and I was like, I have a great idea that you could say no to. It's all good. It's something that I would just think would be really fun to do. And it's, as people know, as people have followed what we do in our podcast and our podcast with Blessing and stuff like that, it's, you've helped me, you've sharpened me through hip hop and rap music journey, right? And for me to get into it more, and you gave me recommendations, you've made me fans of people. Obviously, anybody who knows me knows I am a complete crazy Taylor Swift fan. Just total complete psycho out of my mind Swifty. And
Healthy.
yeah, no, it's healthy stuff. Yeah, for sure. Uh, and
Also, pause. Your video did freeze on my side. I'm not sure if that's happening on your side.
it's good on the recording. I can say on the
Okay.
recording it's good. And also on my Discord call, it looks good. So I think I don't
All
know.
right. It might
The
just be me.
recording's
Don't
good.
worry about it.
I can see I can see
Okay, we're good. We're good.
the people can
We're
see my
back to normal.
fingers wiggling. Here's a
Yeah,
fun
I can
side
now
note.
see your fingers as well.
Here's a fun side note about me. I broke my left arm a long time ago, in a very very gnarly sort of way, and
Jeez.
I'm right-handed. And my left hand was already pretty like stupid compared to my right hand. But after I broke it, it became even more stupid. Because I'm gonna show you. This is what it looks like when I wiggle my right hand fingers. Right, if I try to wiggle them fast, I'm gonna try to do the exact same thing on my left hand, and that's what it looks like.
Ah.
And I'm in
Your
my mind.
left hand's inverted.
In my mind, I'm doing the exact same thing.
But your fingers are just like, oh, we're here.
They're like, we're trying, man. I don't know. We're short staffed.
Short-staffed. Gee willikers. The nerves are on out on break right now.
All those a bunch of nerves called out, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So
The
okay,
nerve.
I pitched Emmett on the idea of why that was. I'm gonna fucking. It just hit me. It just hit me. I pitched Emmett on the idea of why don't we do the same thing we've done before, where we sit down and we do a deep discussion on an album like we did for Kendrick's new album, right? Where obviously in those sort of conversations, usually you have the wealth of knowledge, right? You're the guy who knows everything. I'm the newbie coming in, still enjoying myself, having a good time, but I'm the newbie. And I was like, it'd be really fun to flip that script and for me to force Emmett to deep dive on a Taylor Swift album.
Force is strong, but I consent to this. So yeah, let's go. Yeah,
your family is kidnapped, and they won't be released until you listen to a Taylor Swift album, man. It's all good.
God, the stakes are suddenly really high. Yeah. This is definitely one of the first things we talked about doing for this show, especially since we talked about doing this before Taylor even announced she was putting out an album this month.
Yeah.
So, it kind of just lined up perfect. And I'll tell you, I am interested to see what I feel because people know me as a hip hop head. Y'all know I love hip hop, but like that's not all. Like I got what do I have on my wall here?
You are probably between you and Greg Getty's Cool Greg. You two are two of the biggest Ariana Grande fans I know.
Very true. Very true.
And I fuck with Ariana Grande heavy too. I love Ariana Grande. I'm right there with you.
I'll actually tell you this because this is going to spoil another Guess What I Bought episode. I bought yours truly Ariana Grande hoodie earlier this week.
Yeah, you did, man.
Just to have some merch. So yeah, I love Ariana Grande. I love Chloe and Haley, who are the two sisters. You might know Chloe from all the music she does, and you might know Haley from The Little Mermaid that's about to come out.
Yeah.
So yeah, they make great music. There's a lot of pop music I like. There's a lot of love songs I like. So it's not just hardcore hip hop. Like I like. I'm not going to say all genres, but I like a lot of genres. So Taylor has potential to be in that echelon that I like. I just haven't really gave her a good listen. I think I've only heard like Bad Blood and a handful of the country songs she put out.
I wonder why Bad Blood is the one song you've heard, Emmett.
That's genuinely the only music video I've seen of her ever.
I wonder why.
Yeah, with the Kendrick feature. I told you that story one time in my old job when I was working with someone. They were a massive Taylor Swift fan. I was like, "Oh, have you heard Bad Blood?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I love that song." And I'm like talking about it, and they're like, "Wait, Kendrick's on it?" And yeah, Kendrick's on it. Oh, on the radio they don't play his verse, and I'm like, "Oh,
yeah, they don't. They don't. It's pretty fucked up.
Angers me."
Do you want to hear what's the most fucked up thing about that? And this is like somebody who knows shit deeply, right? The
Yes.
Bad Blood version on the album, right? Because the music video came out like months after the album did, right? Bad Blood on the
Mhm.
album has a specific beat to it, right? And it's the same structure of the song where it's the hook, then a verse, then the hook, the bridge, and it ends with the hook
In the
again.
last verse. Yep.
In the Kendrick version, the Taylor verses, which are fun and whatever, but they get replaced by Kendrick verses. Two great verses. I love the Kendrick version. Probably like the Kendrick version better than the OG version. But here's the thing that's so interesting about it. When they released the music video, not only did they change the verses, they changed up the beat a little bit too. They gave it a bit
Mm.
more of a hip hop beat to it in the backing of the track of the album
Huh.
than the original, because 1989, the album where that came from, the whole vibe of it is very like 80s synth pop sort of, reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
Um, and they switched up the beat for the Kendrick version. But after the music video came out, after the Bad Blood became a single, the beat that they used for the radio edit was the beat from the Kendrick version, but they just didn't have the Kendrick verses.
What?
It's fucked up, man.
What are we doing at that point?
I don't get it. When that happened, like the first time I heard it on the radio, I'm like, they're using the other backing, but not the verse. I don't get it. Whatever.
Jesus. Yeah. That happened after. I was gonna say that shows you why M doesn't like to work with a lot of pop artists, but then I'm thinking back to he didn't work with Lady Gaga on Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe remix, but that happened before the Taylor
Yeah,
Swift stuff.
yeah,
But yeah. Also, that exists on the internet. You can go find Lady Gaga singing Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. So really weird.
yeah, yeah. That's a fun one. And also, shout out to as a quick one, the oddest moment of the Grammys when it was 1989 or To Pimp a Butterfly, where they were the two album of the year heavy hitters. 1989 won. And for people who didn't have the context that Kendrick and Taylor had worked before and like had some sort of connection, so many people were so thrown off by Taylor Swift standing up to accept her award and immediately going out and giving like a real heartfelt hug to Kendrick Lamar. Everybody's like, what the hell's what?
I remember being slightly salty about that because I was like, "There's no way." I'm going to listen to Taylor Swift wholeheartedly very soon. So whatever I'm about to say, grain of salt's coming. But when that happened, that year that I watched it, I was like, "There's no fucking way that 1989 is more impactful, better of a music album, whatever, than fucking To Pimp a Butterfly." Like what? Like they weren't singing 1989 songs in the fucking streets during the Black Lives Matters rallies. Like, come on. But hey, that it is what it is.
I would love it if they did, though. That sounds like a hilarious fucking time. Anyway, so here's where we're getting at the interesting part. Taylor Swift sort of hooked us up because, like you said, the new album Midnights is coming October 21st. I'm going to give you the primer on that album because I think it makes the most sense for us to do that album, and that way we'll both have a new perspective on it. And it'll be sort of like when we did the Kendrick album. I don't know, my brain's blanking on the name right now. Anyway,
Understand. It's a
Mr.
long
Morale.
name.
Mr. Morale. There you go. I got
There
it.
you go.
I got it eventually. My original plan, I was going to give you two choices. I was going to give you two choices on what album to go back and do a deep dissection on. The choices, choice number one was 1989 for two reasons. The first reason
Right.
is for a lot of people, it's considered Taylor's best album. It is also Taylor's first pop album, right? Like Red was her last quote unquote country album, even though it had a lot of pop in it. 1989 was a swift transition straight to just pure pop, right? And it was the 80s vibe sort of thing. And it's a really fantastic album. And two, because I knew you were salty about that album. That's the reason why I was going to.
You knew me so well.
And that's the reason why I wanted to give you that one. But the second choice I was going to give you was going to be Folklore. So she surprise dropped two albums last year, right? 2021. Or was it 2020 already? 2020, yeah. During the pandemic, she dropped two albums. First Folklore, and then a few months later, out of the blue, Evermore. And they're sort of sister albums. But Folklore was sort of also another departure after doing 3 pop albums where
Hmm.
Folklore is she totally switched up the style of music that she writes, not only genre-wise, like, it's a like an American folklore, Americana sort of like it's a folk
Hmm.
album, which is
Okay.
very super
Different.
interesting. She nailed it. She has, like, very popular folk artists on the record and, like, helped
Wow.
her produce the record, like, she took it very, very seriously to the point where people who are even into, like, folk music, nobody rolled their eyes at it. Nobody said, like, "Ah, here we go." Like,
Hmm.
it's in my opinion, it's the best album she's done. In my opinion,
Wow.
it's it's the number 1 if I had to rank all 9 albums, Folklore in my eyes is number
Dang.
1.
Wow, she's genre hopping so well that maybe Drake should hit her up. maybe,
Hey, man.
maybe he'd get some respect for actually doing this shit instead of what he does now.
And that's one of the things that's very interesting about Midnights, and we're going for full circle. She has genre hopped a lot. She was a country artist. She switched to pop, and at the time when she did 1989, she had a period of time where she was the biggest pop star in the world. Like it was, she was number 1, the most followed person on Instagram and all that. And then that came with a lot of shitty stuff, as usually,
Yeah.
being that famous can. And, she still released a couple pop records, but a little bit more low key. It never quite reached the heights of 1989 popularity wise. And then, she hunkered down and wrote an album that doesn't really have space for singles, where she totally switched genres, and it's great and it's fascinating. Goes to show
Hmm.
how talented of a musician she is. The thing that's interesting about Midnights is all of the promotion material, and this is I'm in my element, Emmett, if you can't tell.
Yeah, you're Charlie Day with the chalkboard right now.
I'm in the zone right now, man. I'm making connections. I got this is my element.
I love it.
Midnights has a lot of all of the like the photo shoot and all the extra things she's done, which we will get to, have a lot of very like 70s sort of vibe. That's the vibe that the album is giving it.
Oh, ooh.
So a lot of people are speculating we're entering sort of a Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks sort of vibe era. Maybe a few
Mm.
like disco inspired tracks. Like there's Lana Del Rey's on the album. It got confirmed.
Gee
Uh,
willikers. About
so
to be toxic.
well, that's a whole thing. But
In
anyway,
a fun way, I'll give it.
yeah, why not? Fuck it.
Yeah.
And so it sure seems like this is gonna be another bit of a genre move, right? A lot of people have wanted Taylor to do a rock album for a long time. I don't think this one's it.
Oh, okay.
I'm on
Huh.
that boat because on the 1989 World Tour, one of her most popular songs, We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together, she performed it because it's a very famous song, but she decided to say, fuck performing it normally, and she performed a total rock version of it, where she's playing
Hmm.
an electric guitar, the backing is all rock music, and it's pretty dope, right? It's kind of like a fun switch.
Gee willikers.
All this to say, Folklore and Evermore as like folk albums, right? Where her storytelling in terms of how she writes music switched, right? She used to write a lot of music about her life and her relationships and what she was going through and all that. Folklore and Evermore switched it in the way that it's almost like I don't know how to, but it's storytelling, right? She's not necessarily writing stuff about her. She's just writing stories because part of the thing of why Folklore and Evermore even existed is because she was on lockdown and she just kind of her imagination went wild, right? And she just started writing songs
Hmm.
about random stuff. Evermore, people people in the fandom call it the divorce album because there's like four different
What?
songs about like divorce and cheating on people, and like there's even like like a country murder mystery song in there.
What? Shit, Knives Out down home? Like,
Kinda, yeah, kinda basically.
gee willikers.
All this to say, I'm very excited for Midnights, and B, I want to prime you a little bit on what I think we should expect going into Midnights.
Okay. Because I will say what I have in my head, because when you said 70s, I got excited, but for different reasons than you might have gotten excited. Because you said the SOS band. My head went to what is that one song? Night to Remember. I forget who sings that song. There's a lot of like disco and funk music from the 70s that
Yeah,
I listen to this day. And
totally.
if she's pulling, I'm sure she's probably, I have a feeling she's going to be pulling more from the rock side either way, which is still cool. Like I can still listen to that. But the funky side, the those types of grooves are more my jam. Like Minnie Riperton, that's like late 60s more than early 70s, but like that's the type of shit that I live for. So this
And
could hit. This
I
could
think
really
there's a
hit.
good chance there's also some funk and some disco thrown in there. We haven't heard anything about Midnight's.
Ooh, Shalimar is the artist I was thinking of for a night
Mm,
to remember. Shalimar.
there you go.
But yeah.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about Midnight's. The way she doesn't release albums in the traditional way at all anymore, right? And I guess a lot of artists don't. I'm not saying it's just her, but the last album where she did like a full blown normal press tour, talking to people and releasing singles and whatnot. That was like 3 albums ago, right? She doesn't really do
Hmm.
that anymore. After 1989, she kind of stopped doing the regular music industry mumbo jumbo,
Hmm.
and the way that she's been announcing the titles of the tracks has been through her social media, right? Because a thing that Taylor Swift does, and I've tweeted about this, I've talked about this a lot before, but I'm a fan of a lot of things, right? I'm a I'm a diehard fan of many sports franchises. I'm a diehard fan of some certain content creators, right? Like I have my tattoos that sort of tell you the things that I enjoy. I have a God of War tattoo. I have a Last of Us tattoo. I have a Kind of Funny tattoo. I have 3 Taylor Swift tattoos. I
God
have
damn, really?
yeah,
Oh, all right. I mean, hey, it's less that I'm surprised that you have Taylor Swift tattoos.
it's 3,
It's more
right?
that it's yes, it's three, but I didn't know about one.
Yeah.
So that just threw me for a fucking loop. I am learning so much. Good lord.
Telling you,
I
I'm a
respect it.
psychopath. I'm a psychopath, and that's fine. Taylor Swift, by far, of all the things that I'm a fan of, there's not a single thing that is more rewarding to be a diehard fan of than to be a Taylor Swift fan. Because
Mm.
one of the things I appreciate about her is she understands that she has very dedicated fans. And it's not just the usual, like, oh, she's nice to her fans and she interacts with them on social media, which she does. She follows me on Tumblr. She and I don't no longer use Tumblr, but back in the day, interacted with her on Tumblr multiple times, which is you know
I respect that.
hardcore fans, man. Like they get it. And one of the things that she does is she likes to have fun with her fans, with her real diehard fans, where she'll always drop little hints. Pretty much everything she does is full of Easter eggs, right? Like
Mm.
she'll post an Instagram picture in October of 2013, and then in fucking November of 2014 she releases a song that post kind of hinted at all the way back. It's it's stuff to that
She's one of
level.
those.
It's stuff
Huh.
to that level where like the fans, anything she does, they'll deep dive it and they'll dissect it, and it's literally Charlie Day levels, Charlie Day on the board levels, and fans are often right, which is nuts. Like when she announced the Lover album, there was a mural in Nashville that was like a butterfly painting sort of thing that popped up like a few weeks or a month beforehand, and people started analyzing each little thing because it was like butterfly wings, and each section of the butterflies had like a little different drawing or whatever. And
Oh, okay.
people started analyzing those like one by one and harnessing them back to something
Hmm.
Taylor Swift related. And literally weeks of people figuring this out, the fandom realized that on a specific date, on a random ass day, Taylor Swift was going to be there. And she was there because she announced an album.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
God.
So it goes
What?
it goes deep,
Hmm.
man. It's a rabbit hole.
It sucks because man, they would get along so well with Kanye fans if that whole thing did happen.
Yeah.
Because this is the same energy, just maybe with less having to defend someone who's wearing a White Lives Matter shirt, but
Oh
that's a different
man.
problem.
Oh no. I was talking
Ugh,
about that the other day at work. Man, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's so much.
It's tough.
It is what it is at this point because this is like the third or fourth time some shit like this has happened. So at this point, I'm just like, man, just stop talking.
Shut up, dog. Just stop. Yeah.
Just don't make yourself known to the world anymore.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I'm like, bro, I can't even mourn you because you're still here.
It's
Like,
worse.
stop.
It's like, man, when you had that hood on your head that you were like, like when he had that whole thing where he would cover his face, maybe keep doing that. Maybe keep doing that.
Yeah. Maybe find your shame again.
Yeah. Be ashamed of yourself.
It's healthy for you.
It's good.
Yes.
But
exactly. Gonna ruin his reputation. I know that's an album of hers.
very underrated album of hers, I will say also.
Ooh.
Because that was her
fancy.
That was her post 1989 album. It was the longest she had gone without releasing an album, and it was after the whole Kanye thing, part 2. Yes.
That does remind me, I did watch the music video for Look What You Made Me Do. Because I remember that's back when I cared about Kanye somewhat more. And that whole controversy with her, and then she came back after the whole she actually allowed us to release it. Here's the phone call, like that whole thing.
Right.
And then she came back with that, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this. And I never
was
thought
a whole
about it
thing.
again.
It was a whole thing. It was a moment in the fandom because she had gone away for a long time, which she had never pretty much done. She was on it for her whole career. She released an album every other year, and she went 2 years without releasing any album. And the great thing about Reputation, I know, compared to Kendrick fans, I
was about to say Kendrick's 3,000 days hasn't put out shit, but whatever.
We're spoiled, man. That's the thing. She's very nice to us. We appreciate it. Great album, underrated. People give it bad rap because it's like, oh, it's the Bad Girl Taylor album. It's like, oh, I'm pissed off. And the great thing about the album is that it is a bait and switch. You think that's what the album is, but it's actually secretly a love story about how she actually fell in love for the first time. And it's pretty cool.
Oh.
It's
okay.
It's a bait and switch.
I like that twist.
It's smart. For Midnights, what she's done is that when she announced the album, she announced it at the VMAs, right? Another reason why, as a diehard fan, you knew something was up is because Taylor Swift doesn't show up to award shows anymore. The only award shows that she goes to are the Grammys when she's up for Album of the Year and when she knows she's going to win Album of the Year, which is pretty badass if you ask me. Like when she won Album of the Year for Folklore, she was there, and it was the first Grammys after the pandemic, right?
That was 2021?
Yes, I believe so.
I'm going to see what was nominated. Continue. Because now I'm curious.
She won that, right? And then the next Grammys, she was nominated for Evermore, but she pretty much knew that she wasn't going to win. Straight up didn't show up. But she randomly showed up to the VMAs. Odd, right?
Yeah.
It was like, what's going on? She showed up for 2 reasons. One, she knew she was going to sweep the floor with the All Too Well music video, which she did. And B, she announced a new album. Now, if you know what she's been doing, she's been re-recording her old music and releasing it slowly. But this was an actual brand new album. But when she announced it, there were no track lists. There were no names for the tracks, right? And what she's been doing is every other day on her social media, she'll post a video of herself like rolling a little bingo ball sort of thing and announcing each track's name one by one. We got to the point where we know all the full track list, and we're not going to get anything else. I don't think. I think it's going to just be the wait until the album releases, and when it releases, that'll be that.
Interesting. So, also, I did look up the nominees. Yeah, she had that. It's fine.
Yeah,
I love Janine Yanko. I love. I think Dua Lipa's cool, but I don't care about most of these people. So yeah, she can take that. It's fine.
She had it in the back. And like no, what I'll say, for most people in my life, I understand that I am the obnoxious Taylor Swift fan. I understand that if you give me the time, I could talk for 17 hours straight about Taylor Swift. So for most people in my life, I tone myself down because I understand I'm obnoxious. I'll tone myself down. I'll be low key about it.
But today, the point is to not tone yourself down.
Exactly.
Make it happen. Bingo.
Exactly. So I'm excited for this. I think folklore. Again, I still think it might not be a bad idea for you before midnight to listen to either of the two albums that I told you. For the same
Either,
reasons I
yeah.
told you. Either 1989 because it's her most poppy album. It's if you're looking for songs that are just fun, right? And they still have good writing and they're fun. And again, think about it with the context of it was a genre switch for her, and it in a way revitalized the pop industry. Because
Okay.
it does sound very different from your usual pop, which is something you all appreciate.
All right.
And or folklore. I mean, folklore is a folk album, a whole ass folk album, but I think is her best album. It has the value that it's not just those albums that you listen to it once and you got it. I know you wouldn't expect this from a Taylor Swift album, but it goes deep to levels that, some I'm not gonna say what I'm about to say is I'm not about to say that she and Kendrick do the same thing. I'm trying to say the levels of how the more you put into a Kendrick album, the more you get out of it. You know what I mean?
Okay. The effort and the art is noticeable.
Yeah. The same applies for folklore. There's a trilogy of songs in folklore that are connected, and unless you're especially paying attention and probably on a second listen is when you'll start seeing the connections of these three songs that are through the whole album that are all telling us stories through different points of views and different points in time, and it tells a really great story. It's that level of artistry. And I'm very excited for what Midnight's could be because I don't know what it's going to be. It could be that again. It could be just like pure lyrical masterclass, right? Which is one of the things that
Lyrical miracle.
a lyrical miracle. Or it could be fucking, funky and singy, songy, and let's have a good time again. I have no idea. But it is a bit of a slight bit of a concept album. And if you're not aware of what the concept is for Midnights, basically what she said is it's an album that is compiled of songs that she's written throughout her whole life on sleepless nights, right? On those that's why it's called Midnights.
I like that.
Yes, it's fucking cool. It's different. And
I respect that.
As a Taylor Swift fan, this is her 10th album, man. There's not a ton of artists out there that can release 10 albums and still reinvent themselves and still put out really, really high quality music and change the way that they write and create music. And that's one of the things that I'm so glad that I'm a Taylor Swift fan of because after a certain period of era, if you had told me, yeah, she's going to release a folk album all about weird stories, one of them is going to be a story about World War II, I would have.
What?
I'm telling you, man.
Okay, this is a lot more than I expected.
So I'm excited. All this is to say, I'm counting down the minutes to October 21st, and I'm excited to talk about it with you. I'm excited to see what your point of view is. I would love to know if you do give 1989 or Folklore a listen. Those would be my two recommendations. What you think?
Okay, I might have to throw those on because I've been in the mood where, of course, I still love hip hop, but I've been in the let me not listen to hip hop mood. So I have been going back to some of these 70s songs that I like. Some of these really I've been in like the 80s to 90s R&B vibe right now. But I could easily slide into some. I feel like Taylor Swift would complement something like that anyway. So perhaps I'll go into that somewhat soon and let you know. But yeah, I'm definitely going to listen to the album in time for, I guess this episode would come out the week of the album releasing. So the very next week we'd be recording and talking about this. But yeah, I definitely want to see what's up with her because as you were talking, I was thinking about like what other points of content have I had with Taylor. And I think I also saw the Shake It Off video. So there's another one
Yeah,
for you.
there you go.
Um,
Classic.
and yeah, most of the stuff I know from her are like the very sappy country love songs, and that's I still kind of have that as what she is in the back of my head. But with the 1989 stuff you're telling me, and the all of the effort it seems she puts into stuff like folklore, that just seems way beyond what I expect from her, knowing so little. It seems like I have a little bit more there to chew on than at first I might have expected. So yeah, definitely interesting. I'm not gonna guarantee I'll listen to 1989 or folklore right now. I might do the opposite thing. I might do the other way around where I listen to the new thing, and if I like the new thing, go back.
No, that's
Uh,
fair.
but
That's fair.
but yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely interested, excited. Hopefully it hits. That's all I can say. I have no reason to believe that she's gonna make bad music. It's just a question of if it's gonna be what I like. So
Yeah. I'm interested in it because listen, you're a guy, you know music. You are well
mhm,
versed in music. I'm very interested to just see your point of view on it. Uh
certainly.
because I'm biased. I think she's one of the best songwriters of our generation. I think the versatility backs that up, and I think a lot of people feel that same way as well. A lot of people that aren't
Hmm.
necessarily the hardcore dying Swifties like I am. It would be
Hardcore
very
dying.
funny, very, very funny if Midnight's is a total dud. But I don't think so.
Could you imagine?
And
Oh
man,
my
this album
lord.
sucks.
I will say this album, just from the descriptors you're giving, does sound kind of like that Weekend album that came out a couple years ago. The
Oh yeah.
one where he's bleeding on the cover. Yeah, I think not Blinding Lights is the name of the song, but I forget what the
Yeah,
actual
I
name of the
forget that I
album.
know which one. It's like I think he dropped it right after Starboy, right? Or
Yeah, right after I think it was right after Starboy. He performed it at the Super Bowl
yeah.
following year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives me vibes of that. So if it's that type of spacey kind of atmospheric 70s type of vibe, then yeah, I can get on board with that. I can definitely mess with that because even though I didn't listen to too much of that Weekend album, I did like a lot of the songs on that one. So yeah, this could definitely hit it. We'll see if come a year from now, maybe her vinyl will be up on my wall next to Ariana Grande and Chloe and Haley
That would
and
be one of
Nas.
that would be one of the biggest achievements of my life. I'd retire proudly after that one.
We'll see. I will say I do need to probably get a bigger wall for my vinyls because yeah, I have these 6 up here. I have a whole crate with like 6 more, and it's only growing as the days go by.
Yeah,
It's a lot of video game albums at this point too. I need to get my Risk of Rain 2 album as well. So
of course.
there's a lot of shit that I need to go off on.
Dude, it's just the more I think about it and the more that I've been rambling, the more I think like it's tough, man. Like the music being a musician is one of those career paths where you could have a director that makes banger movies for 30, 40 years, right? And never really drops off. There's tons of examples of stuff like that, right? Of really long careers. But so many musicians, man, they always have a point where you can say like, man, their stuff was great up until whatever.
This time, yeah.
And it's weird. It's always been a weird thing to me. Like I Eminem, I think is such a great
Oh my
example.
god. Ooh, I got so many examples for him. Yeah.
They're like Eminem, dude, like top of his game for such a long time. Like he was the man for so long, and there's a drop off point.
I yes, but I would also argue he was the man, then he had a whole drug addiction, then he came back from the drug
Sure,
addiction, he was the man again, and now he's just sitting around at 40 years old still rapping like it's 2009 still,
yeah, and you're like,
which which to someone who has been a massive fan, like I still think he has really clever wordplay. I still like a lot of his bars and all that stuff, but it took him a long time to adapt to current production. He was really stubborn about like, oh, I'm still gonna rap on instrumentals that sound like they're from 2009. And then it took him a long time to, okay, I'll work with the producers y'all like now. I'll work with the what's his dude? I'll work with Hit Boy. I'll work with God, who's the guy? Oh my god, he was on Kamikaze. You won't know him. I forget his name. He produced Humble by Kendrick. I forget his name. Oh my god. If you know, you know. He's working with a lot of like more modern producers now. But yeah, like there are a lot of artists that even off the top of my head, like some of my favorite artists are artists that people claim have fallen off, But if you're a big fan of them, they haven't really fallen off. Like someone like Nas, where Nas literally every day everyone's like, oh man, he still hasn't put out anything as good as his first album. Because his first album is taught in schools, for Christ's sake. But all his other stuff, he's still making great music, and when he puts out an album, people pay attention. But it's one of those, we pay attention right now and then we're gone.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, same thing for DJ Khaled, where his music's all over the radio, but if you've been growing up with DJ Khaled's music, you're like, we get your trick, man. You do the same.
Like,
you go back. Yeah, you go back 40 years, get a really popular track, remix it, and get the most popular 5 artists you can find on it.
And then scream
you do that
all
for
over it for a little bit.
Exactly. And you've been doing that for almost 20 years now. Like, we get it. It's fine.
Yeah. It's just, I was thinking about this too, because Jimena and I recently went to a Panic at the Disco concert here in Florida.
I didn't know At the Disco was about to come after that, so I was really scared.
We went to Panic,
oh my God.
The Disco. And Panic at the Disco is Jimena's favorite band, right? And she's been listening to them since she was really young, probably too young to be listening to them, but she's loved them for a really, really long time. And even she'll tell you, as like a diehard fan, that they kind of have like a drop off point and some highs and lows, but they clearly can say that after a certain time, these albums just aren't hitting the same way the old albums did. And it sucks. I've always felt fortunate that it hasn't happened with my favorite artist yet. We're about to be 10 albums in, and I have faith that it's going to be really solid.
Isn't Taylor Swift like mid-30s?
Yes.
Like, she's not very old at all.
No,
so
not. I mean, she put out her first album when she was fucking 18 years
like
old.
17. Oh, yeah. 18. Okay, still. That's she has so much more time in front of her than behind her, where I think that affects a lot of it, because especially Eminem, like when he was her age, I think he was at he put out like Relapse or something like that. Like, he was still like halfway through his current spot in his career. So she has a lot in front of her.
By the way,
she was 16.
Yeah, she was when she wrote her first album. She was 16. I think it released when she was 17. But like, yeah, man.
Good golly. So yeah, she's been around for a long time, but I think really what messes up a lot of people, a lot of these artists that were like, oh, they fell off or whatever, is that as they get older, the audience for quote unquote popular music stays the same.
Right.
So like, yeah, I might still love Eminem, but like, kids nowadays aren't looking for M. Like, the only thing that keeps people like Eminem alive are the fact that Juice WRLD was a big fan of him. So when Juice WRLD's featured on a song, they're gonna listen to that Eminem song. When Young M.A. or Anderson .Paak, all these younger artists are featured, they respect Eminem, so then they do the collaboration there. For someone like Taylor Swift, I think Taylor Swift is still, I don't know if like super young kids are still listening to her, but I feel like she has more of those fans than not right now. And by the time she hits 40, it's going to be, you look at her concerts, it's going to be people with buying their first house. Once she's in her 40s, it's going to be those types of fans. I feel like, once you get past a certain age, your appeal just naturally goes down, but your artistry can still stay the same. Like, Prince is a similar artist.
Yeah. Dude, whenever she's in like her 70s, and if she's still touring, and there's like, she's tiny little theaters because a bunch of old heads like listening to her, nobody else cares, I'm gonna have the time of my life, man. I'm gonna be right there, front row, dog.
Headbanging at a Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, hell yeah.
74.
Oh, fuck yeah. It's gonna be a good ass time, man.
Break your hip. Look what you made me do. Proud of that one.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. But yeah, dude, just it's so tough to stay relevant for a long period of time in the music industry. I was thinking of Green Day too. Green Day is a band that I grew up listening to, that I loved my whole life pretty much, and their last few albums have been like, yikes, man. I'm not even adding this one to my playlist. Like,
yeah, I do think that's a good reason in defense of like Paramore just came back.
Shout out to Paramore.
They put out their first track in what, like 12 years?
Something like
a long ass time.
And it's a banger.
And everyone loves it and everyone's hype. And I feel like that's because Paramore wasn't out here making music this entire time for you to fall out of love with them. When you think Paramore, you think about when you were a teenager and the music that you loved. I still think of, because it's a well-written cliche at this point, Black people love Paramore, but I'm one of those who every time they come on the radio, I get excited. Could I tell you an album that I liked from them?
You're like,
No.
definitely not. No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But all this talk about them recently has got me thinking like, man, I should go back to see if I like more than just Misery Business off of Riot or some of these other albums that they have. Like maybe I should go back and check that, and probably what I'm going to do at some point soon. But they have had the advantage of not watering down who they are as an artist and having this body of work that has just lived in the legends of people's minds. And now when they come back, it's like, explosive. Or on the opposite hand, RIP to Prince, he's great. But I think what people forget about Prince is that he kept making music. And like, yeah, people love Kiss, people love Purple Rain, people love all the classics. But like, he has like a dozen albums or something crazy. He was making music up until like the mid 2010s,
Yeah.
maybe even later. So like, a lot of people just don't look out for Prince because they're like, all right, we're not even checking for what he's making. But if you are a Prince fan, you've been riding and dying this entire time. And it's
Totally.
been, if not good music, always interesting music from
That's
what
one
I
of the
know.
things about David Bowie, right? Like right before he died, he put out a Black Star, I think is the name of it, and it was
Yep.
I think it was his first album in a little bit, and that album people adore. People say it's a fantastic album. Obviously, the sucks, but the fact that he died right after probably helped the popularity of the album. But
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. And thinking of the Panic at the Disco show, like the way that the show was segmented probably wasn't very well thought out, and Jimena pointed that out to me before the show because they started the show and they sung like 4 or 5, maybe a little bit more of like songs that you would know, maybe not like the top hits, but like songs that
Yeah.
you'd know. And then they get into the, we're gonna sing the new stuff, the new album, and they sang the entire album, and
Oh, wow.
not in order, but still the entire album. And let me tell you, man, like I was looking around the stadium and it was sad because people were sitting
Oh,
down because people were not fucking with it. Like at first, the first few songs, people were having a good time. And after like hour 1 of all the new stuff, people straight up sat down,
ooh,
which is a
rough.
brutal sight to see, man. I was like, man, I'm getting secondhand like embarrassment
Embarrassment.
almost here.
Yeah.
And then they finish it with like a quick like 4 of our biggest hits. And when those happen, the fucking place was popping off, man. Like roof about to be blown off. And it really made me think of like, man, the music stuff, man. It's tough to keep making new music and have people still enjoy the new music and have it be the same sort of level of quality. It's tough. It's not easy to
Mhm.
do.
Yeah, that's why one idea I've had a lot recently, and this is going to pertain directly to rap, but I feel like you could adapt this into other genres pretty easily. I feel like, so there's an artist by the name of Ty Dolla Sign. I feel like everyone knows who that is, even if they haven't listened to a single Ty Dolla Sign album.
Right.
I've never listened to a Ty Dolla Sign album. I think
Can't
most
say I
people
have.
haven't. Yeah, because he's one of those guys where he pops up on a feature, you get excited, but you're not gonna follow him to his own music. And now I actually have a small vendetta against him because I lost my virginity to his album, and I don't like that. I don't like that happened.
What?
It makes me mad. And it everything you just said got cut out from the sound suppression thing. But yeah, that
yelled
still pisses
what?
me off.
That's all I did.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm still annoyed by that fact. I could have had a better artist. Like she had a bad playlist. Anyway,
Damn, man. Step up your playlist.
yeah, shout out to that person who I'm not going to talk about here. Yeah, shout out to you. Anywho, he put out an album called featuring Ty Dolla Sign, which was a bunch of songs with other artists featured on there, but it sounded more like the featured artist song, and he just came in and like added his flavor, added himself to the chorus or whatever. And I don't know if that went well, but when I saw that idea, I was like,
That's kind of
more artists should
genius.
do this. Yeah,
That's
that
kind
is
of great.
genius.
That's kind of a fucking genius move.
Exactly, because I'm thinking about like going back to Eminem. I'm sure a lot of people don't want to hear a whole album of just Eminem rapping, but there is a certain fun to seeing him. Like for me, I love seeing him work with new artists. Like when he had Music to Be Murdered By, and he had Young May on there, and Young May is like a super street, like still making mixtapes rapper. Like if you saw them on the street, you'd probably be scared rapper. Like, she is great. And seeing her hook up with Eminem, I'm like, that isn't a match that I would have thought would make sense. But then you hear them on a song and it's like, oh, they mix well. And I also feel like M is trying to stay on other people's levels when he's on a track. Like, he was on Nas's most recent album too. And that was another one where people were like, Eminem and Nas? What? But also that makes sense because, they're both legends in rap. So yeah, I think it would work a lot better if these artists would say, hey, instead of me trying to think of original ideas and fill a whole song for a whole album, what if I got some other artists in here, especially someone on the level of like a Taylor Swift or something? I'm sure anyone she calls up will be like, yeah, let's do this. And you have a whole album where your ideas and your flavor is still being presented, but in a way where it's not so overwhelming and doesn't get watered down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting, man. I just feel like a lot of artists almost don't know when to call it quits and be like, all right, I'm gonna either take a break like Paramore did, and if we feel like coming back at some point, come back, and they just get on that grind of like, well, I got to keep releasing music, and I think that's when you start releasing music that's not up to par with what you used to do. A huge shout out, weird guy to shout out, but shout out to Paul McCartney. I didn't know this. Paul. Shout out Paul, my homie. I didn't know this about Paul McCartney. But he still tours, he does concerts, and he still releases new music from time to time. Two things that are very, very impressive about Paul McCartney and that I respect the hell out of him for. He recently released McCartney 3. I didn't hear you there.
I turned off my mic so I could do a Google command. You're good.
Gotcha. I was like, his mouth is moving. Anyway, he recently released McCartney 3, which is the combination of a trilogy where he released McCartney 2 literally like 20 years ago, right? Whoa. And he went back to McCartney 3. And
it's like the Carter.
Yeah, it's the British version of it. But one thing that's like respect to it, he did, and I read this on an interview where Taylor Swift and Paul McCartney were interviewing each other because they both wrote pandemic albums, right? Taylor Swift did Folklore, Paul McCartney did McCartney 3. The thing that Paul McCartney did that's fucking impressive is that all of the instrumentals and all of the vocals on that album are him. He did the whole album by himself in his own like home studio. He did the whole fucking thing, which is insane, man.
Damn. That's fucking crazy.
That's like major respect to Paul, man. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that I didn't know, and I found out in that article, is that Paul McCartney, he tours. When he goes on tour, he pretty much doesn't sing any of his new stuff. He sings Beatles songs almost the entire show.
Wow.
And his thought process is that he knows that that's what people care about, and that's what people actually want to go see, and that's what he performs. So I didn't know this, and now I want to go to a Paul McCartney show because it's to watch one of the last living Beatles perform Beatles music.
Wow. That's actually pretty impressive. How many other Beatles are there?
2.
Is Ringo a Beatle?
It's him and Ringo, yeah.
Okay.
And Ringo is just a fun little weirdo, man. We love that guy.
You want to know what's crazy? Because you say, oh, I have all this music knowledge. In my head, I was like, is Ringo a Beatle or is he the other guy from U2?
Close, man. It could be a flip of the coin, dog.
Yeah, because they look similar in my head. But yeah that was who that would have been.
Ringo's a fun little guy. Every sentence he says, he ends it with peace and love. And he goes like this.
Yeah. He's a star, all right. He's a star.
Yeah, that's the thing that when I found out about Paul McCartney, I'm like, damn, respect. Like, yeah, you put out new music, but you understand what people are here for. And I couldn't help but think of that when I was at that Panic at the Disco show, thinking like, man, the Panic at the Dick show. I'm like, man, y'all are not doing that. Y'all are definitely not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. At a certain point, yeah, you're touring to make money, but you also want people to check out the new creative work that you've put your passion and soul into. Totally. So I get that. But at the same time, in that Panic at the Disco show, I would have played highlights from the new album. Playing the entire album
right
is very excessive. And you do have some artists, like there are plenty of artists who do what Paul McCartney does. Like, what was it? Blessing was just talking about recently. He went to a Lupe Fiasco concert where they played the entirety of The Cool, which is one of his biggest albums, most, iconic albums. And I'm sure that was a great concert because people have their nostalgia for that album and heard nothing but it. So yeah, Panic at the Disco. I don't envy them for doing that, but people got to show what they're working on now. And yeah, it's really hard for an artist to not get stale in modern day, especially now when back in the day, all you would hear music wise is what was on the radio. If it wasn't on the radio, it didn't exist pretty much.
Yeah.
Or now we had stuff like TRL and 106 in Park, and now we have all of YouTube. We have all of Spotify. We have every song we could ever want at any moment in our lives. And the struggle is getting us to type in your name instead of the name we've typed in 50 times. So yeah, it's difficult, but hey, we'll see if Taylor Swift is able to not fall down that same curse very soon.
Let's see. Let's hope. I legitimately, for a while, by the way, my theory was that Taylor Swift was about to retire when I thought she was going to retire from music altogether after she released all her music. Just like a hunch I had. So I didn't expect the new album to be happening, and I'm stoked for it. Because I think she's the kind of artist that she wouldn't put out an album that she doesn't super feel that is to the level of her other stuff. That's how I feel, knowing her and a little bit of how she thinks and how much she cares. But I guess we'll find out October 21st.
Yes, indeed. Exciting. And in a week from then, you know what it is. And also Titanfall 2's birthday, and also the release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which I'm also probably going to play, but really, Bayonetta 3. Let's fucking go.
That's where we're at.
One love to another.
And then a week after that, it's God of War Ragnarok, man. We're eating.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, it's going to be a lot. What? Well, actually, Ragnarok's a week and a half. A week and a half after.
Just give it to me, Emmett. Jesus.
I'll give it to you. Yeah, it's a week after. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Close enough, man. Close enough. That has been the Spoonful podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure you follow us on social media. I'm at Marina Bros. Emmett is at EJSponge61. Spoonful
I
is
can do the thing.
Oh, there you go. I can do it on my right hand.
Oh, well, left hand. Wait, no. Wait a second. I'm fucking with this. No, I'm just bad. See? I didn't even break. My right arm is the one fucked up from injuries, not my left. So,
now you got
I need to become ambidextrous.
We'll work on that. We'll keep you guys posted. Make sure you follow us everywhere. By the way, 13, one of my 3 Taylor Swift tattoos. See you guys later.